And we're live. Welcome to another exciting episode of Mind Under Matter. Keep on talking, honeys. All right, now we're in the episode.
Excited English guy.
The newest character.
It's so happy to see. It's so nice to meet you. Wow. It's that guy has so much enthusiasm, especially for like a somewhat annoying boy. It's like a Valley Girl English guy.
No, gag me with a spoon, no doubt. Ew. Like totally bitchin'.
Today, so we're going to do a part 2 of a psychedelic episode today, and then I remembered that we do a monthly Patreon supporter. I post on our Patreon, patreon.com/mindunderpod. And I post there and ask people for suggestions for topics. So once a month we do an episode like this. And I almost forgot. And then I realized that I forgot other things as well. Like we have, when you're a honey, so there's tiers. There's voids, visionaries, honeys, and Comante de Bouffons. And the fanciest of the fancy. Mm-hmm. And I realized that after 3 months, the honeys are supposed to get a special shout out on the show, and I dropped the ball. I'm the worst at so I'm the producer of the show. We have help. We have an editor. Ramin shows up and is awesome and does the artwork and helps brainstorm and stuff afterwards, and then have an assistant that puts in a few hours a week doing just random stuff all the time, and this is like maybe a job for her a little bit, but I'm supposed to be the producer of the show, and it's one of those things where I'm not well suited for the role.
Yeah, and you're also the host and the
yeah, it's the host is fine, coming up with topics and everything else, great, into it. Organization is not my strong suit, and I just don't. Whatever reason, I'll write things down. I'll like throw them on a calendar sometimes, but the majority of all of my life is organized just in my brain. So it's like, if people get a shout out every 3 months, we're counting on my brain to remember to check in and do that. That it's such a big ask. It's what an unrealistic task to just even put on a brain, like in a modern era.
Yeah,
with documents and spreadsheets and plenty of very easy ways to
and it's just sitting there the whole time
like
waiting to get put in the game, like that little section of the brain. Like in 3 months I'm gonna have to do some shout outs, or sorry, I'm gonna get to do some shout outs on the podcast because we love shouting out your names.
Shout outs, yeah.
We love you. We want your money. I
wake up in the middle of the night screaming your name. That's how many. If you're at a certain level, after 6 months of being a Comante de Bouffon, I promise you won't get to see it or anything else, but I promise to wake up in the middle of the night one day screaming your name.
Dus is a big one, right?
Dus is a big one. Yeah. Because he's also, so you can contribute financially, but also being involved in the community and like writing more and adding more suggestions and stuff. That's the way we're going to talk about you more.
Meg! Or Megan. I forget which people go by, like, if your name is Meg or Megan or Jen or Jennifer or Jess or Jessica. Yeah. And I don't know which one you're using.
I know it's Megan, because it's the only Megan that I've ever met with an I in.
Like incest. Megan. Yeah.
And like incest.
It's weird how incest has become just or that's another topic for another day.
Is it all over the place? Is it
I guess only in the pornographic world. I feel like that used to be a thing maybe like 20 years ago that you'd really have to dig to find that. And even uttering the word is like, that's a word you shouldn't utter. But now it's like the default thing where you have to go out of your way to find non-incest things. But
wow, I've heard this. I haven't been. If I had to guess, the last time I watched porn was like 7 years ago.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you grew out of it.
I almost did one this year. Well, one person showed me a porn on a no. I almost watched one. I didn't. Well, anyway,
I would do one if there was no physical or social negative repercussions whatsoever.
Well, yeah. You just mean you'd record yourself having sex if you didn't have to deal with any of the downside of it? Well,
yeah,
sure,
I would do anything at all if there was no downside to it and there was only upside. I would do it. Upside. I would do anything.
That's like the best superpower in the world. If in the next like Suicide Squad or something like that, or what's the is it
the
Daredevil?
DC one?
Not
Daredevil.
What's the jokey
Joker?
What's the jokey kind of superhero
Deadpool
guy? Deadpool. Yeah. Deadpool. That's like the person that's really lucky. Just a person that only upsides to things. They get none of the negative consequences. It's only free lunches for them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I was gonna say I didn't want to go too far on this tangent because we were saying Megan with the IN and I don't want to associate them with incest. Let's change that to Intel. Intel microprocessors, the most powerful chip next to AMD, or maybe it's more powerful.
I like we would have smoothly transitioned out of that, but also I don't know. Incest porn, it's a thing, I guess. I'm not. I feel like when it comes to I'm 41. No judgment to people that watch porn, but I just feel like my imagination just is really great. I just crush it, and I like to simulate things in my mind that I feel like could come to fruition one day, and I feel like that's like a bit of a driving force in my life. So I feel like there's nothing, if I watch porn, there's nothing like, well, if I work hard enough, maybe I'll bang that lady. That's not a story that I can tell myself.
Do you ever hear that Jen Kirkman joke about like she couldn't watch porn and like she can't even fantasize right, and like I can't imagine, Johnny Depp in a vacuum. There's got to be some story. I have to like know him through a friend of a friend. We're at dinner together. He shows up a little bit late. The waiter comes by, asks me what I'm doing. Like, I'm worried, I'm nervous. And then I just ended up hooking up with the waiter in the fantasy instead of the Johnny Depp thing. There was some version of that.
It's more realistic.
Yeah, you have to go realistic. So it ends up just being the most.
That's sort of the category I fall into.
Yeah.
So I went through and I looked at, so we have some making up to do. So we're going to do a few each week, but shout out to Honey Bear, Mitch Drew. His Instagram handle is @playlist.alchemist. We already gave him a shout out. Remember? Yeah. Mind Under Art episode, which listeners to this, because this one goes out to the public, may not have heard, but thank you, Mitch, for the support. Paul Saunders, just this. He doesn't want to plug nothing. He's been supporting me he's been on Facebook and everything for like 10 years.
Damn.
He's been following my stuff. So thank you, Paul.
We gotta not let him down.
Oh,
if we misstep ever and someone else says something about it, fuck you. But if Paul says we've misstepped, we gotta listen. Know.
Natalie, she has a Etsy shop called Love Inspire Transform.
Lit. Love, inspire, transform. That's what the word lit means. When people say that something is lit, they mean that it loves, inspires and transforms.
Is that true?
No, I think it means like lighting a match or something. But I wanted it to mean something for our friend with the Etsy store.
There's a Batman mask.
Get yourself some fun masks, everyone. This is kind of like a QVC episode already. It's like we've got a lovely playlist. We've got a lovely Paul that doesn't want to plug anything. And it's like the thing that the diamond ring rotates on QVC. There's just nothing in it. It's just a rotating platform. And then the next one, it's Etsy with like some beautiful masks. Oh, you should buy like a couple of those. Goes well with your playlist.
Well, we also have, here's a plug for a future plug. We have Odwin, who is there starting a podcast soon.
The podcast is called Soon?
And no, soon they're starting a podcast, but it's not out yet. They didn't mention the name of it, but maybe it'll be more appropriate to plug once they actually have it out.
Odwin is a cool name. It reminds me of Arwen from Lord of the Rings, but odd, like
Audwyn.
Wait,
AWD? AUDWYN.
Oh, I was spelling it with an O. Never mind. It's still an awesome name, regardless of the spelling. I still like it equally.
So when you get that podcast out, hit us up. We'll give you another plug for the podcast. And last one, we're gonna have to be doing these each week now because we have so many wonderful honey bears helping us out. Willow Burns. So actually, Willow, she asked to plug the MOPCO, MOPCO Improv Theater in Schenectady, New York.
What?
And it's
Schenectady?
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you ever been?
Never heard of it. Didn't know there's such thing as Schenectady. Didn't know you could even arrange letters in such a way. I'm a fan.
SCHENECTADY, and I'm pronouncing it correctly. I know because I've been there like 3 times.
You did shows there?
I've been there at least 2. Yeah, it's outside Buffalo, right?
Oh, I can't wait till we're
Albany.
I mean, it's very possible that we never get really big. It's possible we stay the same or just shrink and die. But in the reality that we get really big, it'll be so fun that someone plugs their improv theater and we can just blow it up
there.
Like violate the fire code, make the fire department need to hire new people to.
Oh yeah, there's going to be mummies hanging off the rafters. It's her dad's improv theater, and he opened it a few years ago, and she's really proud of him for opening it in the first place and keeping it alive during the pandemic through online classes and online shows. They recently started doing shows with a live audience, and it's the only business in the area requiring proof of vaccination to attend in person. Hooray!
Also, you're saying it's a Nazi camp with Nazi rules.
That's free market rules, baby. A business is allowed to do stuff like that if they want to.
I might sound like a total wrong here, and people will say I'm paid by the government or something, but I'm okay with even more tests. Like if you had to do just if not even just vaccination records, like if spelling. You had to prove you could balance or something, and spelling and I'm fine with I wouldn't even pass all the things, but you have to play like a certain drum fill or something to get into other buildings.
Yeah, you don't have to pass them all, but you definitely got to be
3 out of
tested
4
on everything. Yeah, you need at least 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. You're going to get some like light algebra thrown at. I feel like you should know some light algebra, and if you don't, you should make it up in other ways.
X equals X.
Yeah, I think if you can't That's think in terms
algebra.
Of variables like X and Y, I think that you better be bringing something else to the table. You better be able to write me some poetry or something.
Yeah, good poetry. And we'll know if you stole it. Did you ever see the Fred Armisen Stand Up for Drummers special? And in order to be let inside the venue, they had like a little drum practice pad out.
That. I never saw it.
And you had to like show them that you had to like play a paradiddle or something so that they would let you in. I thought that was a funny
that's amazing. So they said if that's too local or specific of a business, could you just put in a plug for a local independent theater performance venue more generally? It's been rough for them, as I'm sure you guys know. Yeah, so Willow's just like, hey, can you just tell people to support their local art and entertainment businesses where they are? And of course.
Yeah, if you don't live near Scaramougo, California, Scaramougo, New York, then find the smallest, closest theater, buy the ticket, buy the $3 water bottle, sit in the front, laugh at the performers, but not at everything, because then they'll know you're just laughing at everything. But like when it hits the almost threshold, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Give it a little extra.
Yeah, if the Obama
nudge.
doesn't sound just like Obama, just complete the rest of the voice in your head. They're working on it. They're improvising. It's tough. You've seen us try to improvise. We can't even come up with what's in the box sometimes.
Oh, that's not true. We're always figuring out what's in the box. But there's the so here's my fond Schenectady memory. The venue that I performed at a couple times. I did some other stuff in the area, but there's this venue that's like the basement space of a massive theater, like 2,000-3,000 seat theater or something.
Oh boy.
Like this little indie space that I would do on an off night on a Tuesday or something, like in the basement. I go through with an experimental show or one of the tours that I was doing. It was never like a city that I had a big draw in or anything like that. But so I was always like, should I even stop through? And I'm so glad that I did, because one time I went through and the next night Book of Mormon was playing at the theater. And so I got free tickets. But the thing was, at this theater, so it's Schenectady is like, is it Albany? It's outside of a bigger city, and it has like, at least this theater had a really like older clientele to it. And so a bunch of people with just season passes would just show up to whatever. So
I've seen this with Louis C.K. A lot of old people walking out of Louis C.K. talking about throwing his daughter's asshole onto the wall and calling it a Jew or whatever the bit he's working on is. This is like in 2007 or something.
And that's so if you haven't seen Book of Mormon, it's, as someone who is pretty unshockable from a comedic point of view, in most shock value stuff, if anything, borders on making me roll my eyes, but less about actually offending me. And it's pushing boundaries. I mean, it's a combination of it being actual people performing it and everything, but it's one of the most uncomfortable, outrageous things I've ever seen, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Have you watched all of South Park?
I mean, I haven't seen every single episode,
but you get a good feel of it.
It's
way more
outrageous than a regular South Park episode. I mean,
Damn.
they have like.
I wonder how many Mormons like it.
Like people in African tribes and stuff, like in loincloths and whatnot, and doing insane singing and dancing numbers that are definitely like, whew, I'm surprised you are allowed to do that. And it's amazing, and it's very funny. And it really added to the experience that there was a bunch of very, very old, like, theater types that had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And it's one of the hardest that I've laughed at. I recommend Book of Mormon to anyone. And I wouldn't be surprised if you walk out being like, that was a bit much for me. It's definitely pushing.
You ever hear the story of how they put it together, like maybe not 2 weeks in advance, but some crazy timeline in which they didn't write a word of it, and then they saw on the marquee like coming next month, Book of Mormon with Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and then they're like, oh crap, we have to actually make this, and they like just and I've never seen it. I haven't seen a second of it, even though I love the South Park guys, but I haven't heard a bad thing about it. All I hear is people that say like, oh, I don't even like musicals, but this was next level.
It is pretty next level.
I gotta check it out.
Those guys
sometime.
are exceptionally prolific, and I think they must just be people that work well under pressure. Because they clearly put that pressure on themselves quite a bit.
Yeah.
But
if you go back and watch it, I mean, depending on your sense of humor, I know humor is subjective and stuff, but it's consistently good. South Park is so good.
yeah.
Like season 10, great. Season 20, great. Season 1, great. And Simpsons can't say the same. Futurama can't say the same. Family Guy can't say the same. King of Hill is pretty good, consistent, but South Park really did something special.
I watched a couple of their COVID special things, and that was about it. But I just haven't tuned in much, but I believe in it. So we have, in terms of suggestions, I just thought we would just kind of wing it a little bit
like we
today.
do.
We did, because before we would pick a topic suggested by somebody and then really expand on it. But I think that, where is this? I think that a better way, just so people can hear from more people, I think we're just going to dip in randomly into things. This is a pretty good one. This comes from the Crippler. The Crippler is, is the Crippler someone different than I thought they were?
I imagine just a guy with a crowbar in a wrestling
Well, they get
outfit.
a shout out anyway, because they're at 3 months.
Yeah, let's give him one on the house.
So they get one anyway. But they said, the Crippler said, I've recently come to terms with the concept that this has to do with a lot of our recent episodes. I've recently come to terms with the concept that as you grow older, some bridges get burned and some just fade away due to different paths of mental, physical, and fiscal growth patterns with friendships. I'm not one to give up on anyone. I really don't like losing, like closing friendships doors, but sometimes it's necessary in order to maintain one's own happiness and mental health and not fall into someone else's black hole. Curious if this is something you guys have dealt with. Would love to hear an episode about it. Thanks, dudes, and keep on salivating.
Thanks. Keep on salivating to you too.
I have plenty to say on this one. I'm not opposed to burning bridges, especially.
Oh, no, you're not. You love it.
Yeah.
But one might call it integrity. It's not pettiness. It's just like, I don't need this person in my life. I have enough to deal with, etc.
I actually got contacted by someone recently that was like, we found out that royalties on some digital content are owed to a bunch of comics potentially, and it would require like lawyers and like a plaintiff, and that plaintiff would need to not care about burning bridges. I'm like, oh, like I was like, yeah, what do you need? Like, you mean I could get money out of it? I would pay you for an exciting opportunity to burn a bridge from someone that's screwed a bunch of people over.
Yeah.
Like, let me at it. But yeah,
It's a little bit of balance, because on one side, if you don't burn bridges, you stand for nothing, and it's just, everyone is okay, and I'm not going to express how I actually feel. And then two bridge burny, then you'd have to be a very disagreeable person. I mean, Patrice O'Neill was very disagreeable. He burned pretty much, at least every bridge, The Office, Arrested Development. These were great shows, and he just abandoned them, So he would probably rank at least a 1 or a 2 on agreeableness. But man, he was funny. Some of those jokes, me and my wife Tammy would laugh all night. Of course, she can't laugh much right now. She's a little bit in the hospital, but we're working on that.
She's a little bit in the hospital.
No, I don't think she is. I think she just was a year ago.
She's a little bit in the hospital.
Just one toe in the hospital.
Such a funny way of describing someone in the hospital. They're just a little bit in the hospital.
The Petersons are always in the hospital. I feel for the Petersons. They are so familiar with the hospital individually and as a family. It feels like always one of them just has to go into the ICU or something.
Yeah, taking turns.
Mm-hmm.
Was Patrice O'Neill supposed to be in Arrested Development?
He was the banana stand operator when maybe and
the flamer.
Yeah, I think so. Like one of the earlier episodes, and he was in the office, and some people think like, no, that was Craig Robinson. Nope, it's both of them. They both worked in the warehouse. Craig Robinson was around longer. I think Daryl is the character's name. Craig Robinson is a really funny comic and plays piano and it's just an amazing stand up and stuff.
I've opened for him.
Oh hell yeah!
I know Craig. Yeah,
nice guy.
Yeah,
seems like he'd be a nice guy.
Oh, he's a super nice guy. Yeah, I partied with him a little bit too. He's a lot of fun.
I almost opened for him 2 different times, and both times he canceled, and then they got like some other local headliner to fill in. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, his shows are just, there's plenty of comedy, but it's also just a fun party. He just gets a piano out and breaks into songs and stuff, and it's just a pleasant, jolly time. Yeah. He's just leading everyone and kicking it. It's pretty fun. I had let's see. In COVID, I've burned a lot of bridges in COVID. Let's see. I had one friend that was on his way out for some time who I was like trying to save for a while.
Save from what?
Old friend. He got really wrapped up in conspiracy stuff over a long period of time, and then when Trump happened, it was now tracing it back. He got into like the InfoWars stuff. He was on the ground floor of the InfoWars stuff after 9/11. InfoWars, what about if you can see the shadow of a missile coming out of the plane before it goes into and then went down this wormhole there, which always like led people into some anti-Semitism stuff. Like has to get in there at some point. It's just a part of joining the conspiracy crowd. And then at least back in that generation,
it's still around, I imagine.
Oh yeah, but I'm sure it's also evolving new hatreds of like other groups and stuff as well. So I don't want to like put them in a corner. But it was a sad situation. His mom like got terminal cancer and his stuff, like at the same time that I started comedy, he wanted to become a musician. He could never work up the courage to get on stage. And
was he good?
Just,
could he play in time?
Himself for it. He was
Were his licks original?
But he wouldn't even just like go to an open mic or something. He was just, his licks were original. And he wouldn't, he just wouldn't, he wouldn't give it a try. Bounced around. I could see myself doing the same thing in a parallel universe, like not ever like following through on a college education. He'd go to school for a semester, drop out, just, working. He had a job. It's funny when people complain about things that are just like awful situations that they got themselves. Like he had a job where he was a parking attendant to just, getting people parking tickets. You sit in a lot and make sure someone that parks in the lot is there to use that business, and if not, you get their car towed. And he'd be upset because people would get upset with him. I'm like, oh yeah, that's part of the territory.
Yeah, you're a professional wiener. I know if you've got like you're a single mother and I've got to raise 3 kids and it's the only job I could get. I'm sorry, but you're still a wiener if you get parking tickets.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
And you're going to get some guff. It comes with the territory. He's the type that would, he would like call me just losing. He's always a really angry person. And he'd call me when we hung out in high school, he was super chill. He was like a hippie dude. And then he just got angrier and angrier. But he'd go through drive-thrus and he'd order the craziest, most specific fast food orders ever.
Give me an example.
And then he'd ask like for 1 pickle instead of 3 or something like that on like the McDonald's quarter pounder or something like that.
What? Just
and
pick
then
them
when
off,
it was
you
2
fuck.
pickles instead of the 1 that he asked for, he would just lose it. And it was so crazy. Like, you're going through a McDonald's drive-thru and then ordering things. It sounds like, when you go to a restaurant in LA and there's some pretentious dude at the table over that refuses to order off the menu and wants to make up his own creation in his mind to show off to the table that he like knows a bunch about food or whatever, and his ability to be a epic pain in the ass in social settings. He was like that, but with fast food. and then would like complain about it giving him bad digestion. Like, you're eating fast food all the his mom got cancer, eventually died. That set him off the deep end. He got so into conspiracy stuff. When Trump happened, he just latched on to Trump. He became this awful misogynist. I'd start running into him and I'd try to like meet up with him, and he'd be talking about needing to prepare for the race war that was inevitable and stuff. I'd be trying to talk him out of it. One of the last times I saw him, he was like joking. He's like, yeah, I think I'm going to move in with my Coke dealer. I'm like, oh yeah, you don't do that. You don't see, the thing with Coke is it runs out. That's the only reason why people survive cocaine, is because you buy enough where it'll eventually run out.
And I'm not really experienced in that realm, but from what I know, I mean, doing it makes you want to do more of it, which makes you want to do even more of it. And then your fixation becomes on doing more of it. And if you run out, getting more of it.
Yeah,
that's like, it becomes about the cocaine.
It's like, let's go around at 2:30 in the morning, just out around the bars and just, feel it out. See if we
and
can
talking
find
at
someone
people
that looks like someone might have cocaine. That's what cocaine will make you do. And then and then COVID happened, rough on everybody, but he doubled down on all of it. I put together a high school reunion thing. That was all of us, and we all have different political leanings and everything else. But what's
the spectrum there? You thinking like, do you have a very, very hard left and a very hard right and a very firm center person, or is it kind of all?
I would say it ran the whole spectrum pretty evenly dispersed, and amongst my old high school friends. And and he showed up late, and he has such anger issues, and he just like couldn't get over him. We showed up late, and we were like, he was 20 minutes late. We were like, hey, how you doing? All of us are on a Zoom call, and he's like, oh, fucking, like, okay, you're just an angry person. And then he was like, I was like, yeah, you got a tattoo recently, right? What'd you get? And then he shows it. He got a 45 tattoo for Trump. This was like 1 week before the election. He got a Trump tattoo. And then I was like, this is the whole time he's anti-COVID. Most of the time, if we talk on the phone, he's in a bar, like during the fucking heart of it, when like that wasn't a thing.
Did you ever see
screaming something about minorities? And so that was the last time. Then I was like, you know what? That's the energy is done here. So I don't think I burn bridges like
that's a very obvious bridge to burn. It feels like you gave him. I would have cut him off at the McDonald's, like with the 1 pickle order. I would have, I don't know, maybe I would have had to have installed an ejector seat, James Bond style, just in case that event would occur, and then I would have to eject him. And since the car is not moving in the drive-thru, he would just shoot up through the roof and then land right back down. But hopefully the impact would at least knock him out, and then I would drive away. But You can't have that kind of person. I get ordering like you need a plain burger or a burger without a bun or something, but one pickle instead of two or three, you're out of here.
Yeah.
I don't care if you love 45. Remember when people were posting a picture of 45 with the, cigarette cross out of it, and it very much just looked like the Nazi symbol, but they're trying to say, no, we're anti 45. It's like, but it looks so similar to the Nazi symbol.
I never saw that.
No, I thought it was silly referring to him as 45, whether you hated him or loved him. Just call him Trump or whatever, or just don't talk about him. How about that? But not giving him all the media, but that kind of ended now. I think he's gone for now, and he'll probably die soon.
How much do you keep up with connections generally? Do you...
You know this. Very well. Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
See, I actually keep connections like quite a bit. I stay in touch with tons and tons and tons.
I'm working on it, though. I feel like I'm getting better.
Yeah?
It's not something I want to do. It's... I don't have the energy sometimes. Like I want to write back and I cannot compose it with my thumbs or voice it with this. And then I say, I'll write it back later. And then more things pile up on top of it. And then it gets forgotten. But I have been getting better this year, I feel like, just because I've seen it gone too much the other way. So it's not about bridge burning. It's about like there are no bridges even connecting me. I'm in my own little floating island in the sky, and then I have to come down to communicate with people. Or if that's too pretentious, I'm deep in the recesses of hell. I'm not above everyone. I'm below everyone.
No, it's that's not too pretentious. That's that creative space is just you have to dive so deep into your own world. It by its very nature could easily be viewed as a selfish thing, sure, but it's just daydream. You're just daydreaming. Like you're just off in that space, and that's a exceptionally. I mean, that's how we make our income.
And I get mad at this thing. I throw it.
You throw your phone
onto a pillow, of course, but and lightly. But I'm like, you know what? I don't have to live in here. And I close it and I do the little frisbee toss so that it lands on the pillow and bounces twice. And then I forget where it is for a while. I'm like, where is that thing? I actually do need it now.
I feel like you have pretty good hygiene in terms of that sort of stuff. Like I feel like Zach Sherwin has pretty good kind of phone and digital hygiene sort of stuff. He
is very protective of his time. That's a quote, I think, from him or from his partner maybe, but he like I would love to hang out with you for 7 o'clock to 7:45, and then like at 7:44, well, friend, I love you very much. I have to go finish even if it's not for like, oh, I got to catch a flight. Most people would be like, oh, I got to catch thing. I can't cancel. Otherwise I would, he's just so clear and honest of like, well, I've allocated this time to write for the next 2 hours. So I'm going to go write. But time with you has been most enjoyable. That's not even a good Zach. Like he probably doesn't even speak with those phrases. I just haven't worked on a Zach yet. I'll get you, Zach. I'll get you down. I'll get you before you get me.
Check out Zach Sherwin, everybody. He's awesome.
And he's an amazing freestyler and rapper and composer and crossword show maker and stuff. But being in a room with him, coming up with stuff off the dome, like he can just go for like 15 minutes.
Really?
He's a great freestyler.
I've never heard him just doming it. There
was a time, I wasn't there for it, but Andy Samberg kind of put him on the spot at some awards show he was hosting. And, it wasn't a time he was prepared to do that. He didn't think he was going to have to do it, but he showed up, just has it. He's got the sink, the faucet can just turn on and make the connections because that's his, that's one of his superpowers is words. And he's a hip hop connoisseur.
He's made videos before where he's just connecting a bunch of words, and there's this one that he made that he just connected a bunch of words around an Airbnb that he was staying at and made a whole like incredible wordplay thing around it. And I was like, oh, I've done similar things to that, but only during manic episodes when I'm insane, and they're not as clever. They're just kind of, odd and sort of suspicious and maybe troubling.
You should check out Crossword Show, everybody. Go to Zach Sherwin's Crossword Show, YouTube. Check it out live when it comes back. Natalie Portman might be there. She's been to the show before. Moby's been there. Different dates.
Moby's been there?
Moby came a week after Natalie Portman, which is weird because they were in the news together because Moby said that he dated Natalie Portman, but he never did. And Natalie Portman said, that's not true. And
really?
Yeah, it was the news.
Moby's just spreading weird Natalie Portman rumors.
Mm-hmm. I heard another story, which, not to talk shit about Moby, if you're a big Moby fan, or if you are Moby, we love you. Thanks for listening to Mind Under Matter, Moby. Yay! Yeah. Oh, but back to the shit talking part of the episode. Yeah. I heard a story where Lana Del Ray was at Moby's house, and it's a very nice place and nice cars and very ornate and luxurious. And then she tells him, "Oh wow, you're like the man." And then he goes, "Yeah, I guess I am the man." And she goes, No, I don't mean it like that. I mean like, the oppression, big corporate guy, man. There's some version
You're
of that.
actually oppressing people.
Yeah, I thought that was some, not that, having the nice stuff is actively oppressing people, but, just as the anecdote, I thought it was funny.
All my, I was on the road for 17 years and I'd travel so much. So I'd run into people everywhere because people had spread out. And so I'd be kind of this common contact and then let people know what everyone else is up to for people that weren't on Facebook or whatever, especially at the time. And then I just also I would have like 4 or 5 hour drives and I just like calling people when I'm on those drives. So
that's got to be a lifesaver.
I haven't thought of this buddy of mine and we haven't talked in like 3 years. I'm just going to call them. So I do that stuff quite a bit. So I keep up with most people.
That's a better way of living. I like that better. And I think the world would be better if more people had that. And it's a thing I wish I could unlock. And I'm working on doing it without giving up the sanity part of life. But the fact that we can connect to anyone portably with pretty damn clear audio and in real time, it's not like I speak and then I have to wait 3 seconds to hear you receive it because it has to go to the satellite and like beam down. I mean, how does that even work? It beams down everywhere and then only the frequency that it's tuned to pick up listens to it. Yet everywhere it's getting the signal.
I mean, it's also the numbers of ways that you can sure, things can go really wrong, but there's so many ways that you can communicate better. Say you and I were just living next to each other or something, or near, or met up for work every day or something, and we went into the office every 5 days a week or something to Mum Studios. Maybe we will one day, but there's aspects of communicating through email and like I love voice notes. I'll leave a voice note, and I'd rather just blab for 2 minutes, not have to worry about like, here's an idea that I was thinking about for the art piece, or like maybe this will be the next episode or something like that, and then be done with it. Not to have like a further discussion, not to bother someone, just to share a thought quick, be done. We didn't need to meet up. We didn't need to have a phone call. And it's better than a text because it's quicker and just...
Yeah, you don't have to compose it.
Yeah, you don't have to compose
And then
it.
I can listen to it again, so I don't have to say, wait, what did you say at the beginning? Or I forget what you said. I can just have it on my own time. No, I'm a big fan of the voice note.
Yeah. So, yeah, can you do you have a time that you've burnt a bridge that you can think of? I'd love to know.
I mean,
you don't seem like a bridge burner.
No, I mean,
you're a bridge atrophier.
Bridge atrophy. I cannot think of a bridge I've burned, like where I'm not talking to this person again. This person is toxic. I mean, there's been a couple of relationships where it didn't. It was just incompatibility, and you kind of choose to. Well, I just can't be friends with this person, at least not for a long time, and then. And that's also like early 20s me. I'm a completely different human now. No, I can't think of one. A burned bridge. Who bridge burn? Nope, they're all still active, I guess. They're covered in spider webs or something.
I will say when there's rifts, sometimes there's a certain like neediness that isn't useful to any party of just trying to keep a bridge. That shouldn't be. Certainly, I've had serious relationships that went on for a year longer than they should have easily. And that's not to like whatever. It didn't negatively impact me necessarily that they went on a year longer, but I wasted that person's time for a year longer. And we had X number of fights more than needed to be. Like, it should have just been done. And there was times when I would just try to make things work so much, and there wasn't anything like worth working. Yeah, really.
I've never believed in that. I mean, there's degrees of it. I believe that it's good to, go to therapy and do the work and have uncomfortable conversations that might last longer than you think. But if your relationship is like, we've been working really hard on it for a year, like it should be easy. That's what I believe. It should mostly be easy. Yeah. It should mostly be not fighting, mostly not resenting the other person, not keeping secrets. Like, so many relationships are just this weird, tangled secrets, silent resentment of each other, venting to separate friend groups. And for what? Like, you could just be happier as friends. And I think people are learning that more. Like, even people with kids and stuff, they're like, no, it'll be better to be divorced and give them. Why did my voice get like this all of a sudden when I'm starting to talk about divorce?
I also, on the opposite side, I feel like there's something about a global pandemic that has made me just care so little about I don't really care what bridges I burn, but probably to a detriment. But I'm like, whatever, I'll talk shit about this person if I think that they're spreading bad information, and I don't care about consequences further down the road. But also just I've gotten so accustomed to it. I had a thing with a friend recently where I guess they were upset with some way that I had communicated to them that I was totally unaware of, but it caught me off guard. I was just at the beach and I got a call, and they were like upset with something I had said that I didn't recall saying or some, and just
online or in voice,
in voice over the phone. And they were like super worked up about it. And I was like, whoa. You can't talk to me like this. Like, none of my other friends would just call me and start yelling at me. Like, you don't get to talk to me. Like, I don't need this. Like, I could never talk to you again. Yeah. And that would be okay. And like, you don't just get to treat people like that. And it was a little bit like, I kind of threatened that. Like, they're like, oh, I'll just not be friends with you. Like within 15 seconds of hearing someone's tone, I'll be like, oh, would you like to never talk again? Because that's how I'm feeling right now. I'd like to never, ever talk to you again. Just an unexpected tone. So now I'm burning them quicker these days. The speed at which I'm happy to like lose
You bring
fans.
Gasoline with you. Yeah. You don't just light the match on the dry rope thing. It's like, oh, this kind of could use a little treatment first. You'll burn bridges that have already been burned to where it's like there's just little fumes coming out.
Yeah, I want to make the bridge explode, and then when it's stopped burning, pour some gasoline on it to keep that fire going a little more.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't judge you for it. I think it's you got to do you.
I don't know. I judge me for lots of things, though. Want to do another one?
Yeah. Man, we spent a lot of time on bridge burning. That's kind of fun, though.
That was super fun. I mean, we are the tangenty boys of comedy.
Yeah.
Ooh. See, here's... I'll just go through some and we'll just comment. Some of them will be like, pass. Some of them will be like,
pass.
That's a full episode. We'll do that another time. This is one that I think is worth a whole episode. So we'll do this another time. This is Mike Ryan, Comante de Buffon.
Oh yeah, Mike Ryan. We've mentioned him before.
Because he makes carpet outlet .com boat carpet outlet.
Boat carpet, yeah.
Boat carpet outlet.
Don't you forget it.
He just joined me at playing Codenames on a board game night recently.
Nice.
I know I mentioned this one on Here We Are Discord. But I'm fascinated by the effect screens are having on our reward system and changing our culture.
I hadn't
also
noticed.
Love any discussion regarding complexity in our society and civilization and how complex systems work, evolve, become unstable as complexity increases. So the screen time one, we're gonna do a whole episode on that eventually. So, I mean, you're welcome to say something here. What about this? This is how complex society discussion regarding complexity in our society and civilizations and how complex systems work, evolve, and become unstable as complexity increases. It's a broad topic.
What's the question? Or they're just saying talk about how it becomes more unstable as you have more variables and like you're trying to keep the house of cards from falling. Maybe it's not a house of cards, but just more. It's amazing it hasn't fallen apart more since we're always feeling like, oh, it's late stage capitalism. We're just at the cusp of going back to sticks and stones again. Our children are going to have to learn to make fire again. Maybe not our children, our grandchildren are going to have to learn how to make fire if the air is even breathable, but also it could be a really fun steampunk world or a solar punk world. I mean, it seems like complexity is a fundamental property of the expanding universe. This might be an Earth-centric view. I don't think it is though, but early universe, nothing going on for billions of years, just nothing more than like free-floating electrons, then you get some hydrogen, then you get more molecules together. You don't get life till like the very tiny sliver of the history of the universe, and then you don't get multicellular life till an even smaller sliver, and then you don't get, humans, primates, agriculture, internet. Like it's just smaller and smaller. Even internet, there was no social media. Now social media with HD video and fast, like, it seems to just be a complexity making machine, and it's learning to accept that rather than hope that it goes back to a simpler time, because you can just escape into simpler times. I don't know if it gets simple again.
There's not a chance of that happening. It took in my way of looking at it anyway. I guess I said that pretty definitively, but I don't see that. It took 200,000 years for humans to go from, like 50 humans around to a billion humans. And really most of that was in the last 10,000 years, few thousand years. But regardless, 200,000 years to get to the first billion. And it's taken 200 years to get to the last 7 billion. So there's been
that could double in a decade.
Rate
we
of
could
expansion,
get to 15.
Yeah, they, for whatever reason, the predictions, the projections seem to be like 9 or 10 billion right around the corner, and then kind of plateauing based on I don't know. I'm not sure I buy what it's based on, because it's based on it, basically more developed places and people that have that do better, that are more well educated, that have more money or whatever, tend to have less children. Like just the average person in the US is having less children, but poorer people in less developed nations are having more children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the logic is that we'll be better, we'll be more advanced, we'll be more developed, and that would mean that there's like, oh yeah, we're not going to keep on expanding this separation of wealth and the disproportionate, which I think during COVID alone, I think however many billion more dollars the billionaires got, which I think was
a lot. They crushed it. I
Was
don't think
it
a billionaire
trillions?
lost a cent. This I could be wrong. This could be just but then again, it's so punching up. Like, you can say anything you want about billionaires and it's fine. All
But it was
billionaires
the-
actually smell bad, even if they use all the products. It's just the fundamental property of billionaires, and it's a fact.
But the whatever, however many billion it was that billionaires were enriched by, was the exact number that the average working person lost,
Because it
during the
went to them,
pandemic.
right?
All just went, whoop. And which isn't even, like we've said before, it's not even some conspiracy necessarily. It's just there's winners and losers, and there's people that are going to, like, it's not like a global pandemic was started by Zoom, even though I'm sure
Great
Zoom
idea
did
if it
very,
was.
very well. But yeah, there probably needs to be at least just a one-time pandemic, huge, like, pandemic tax on the billionaires that have profited during this time, to offset some of it, or something like that. The rich need to be taxed a bit more than they are,
In a way that actually catches it, which I don't know if that's a VAT or a value added tax, but it feels like they already are being taxed. But if there is a single loophole you can escape through, you're going to take that loophole, because that's what we do as humans.
Yeah.
If you can go put it in a Swiss bank account, if you can set up your company in Detroit, or not Detroit, in Delaware, where it's the cheapest way, even if you don't live there or have a single employee there. Maybe you just have one fake employee in Delaware, so you can say you're incorporated there. But all these little tricks they use to escape, they're going to take advantage of it. So has to be in a different way. That also doesn't hinder progress, because it'll be like Venezuela and stuff. That's also possible. I understand the falls of socialism if not done right.
Right. I mean,
And by understand, I mean I've seen like a couple of memes, but
it is just, as someone who's been living in America for 41 years now, there's two arguments that I've heard over and over again, with just like apocalyptic sounding every time it's made. One is the communism and socialism argument, that this is coming just any day now. And then the other is they're going to take all our guns. That for 41 years, that's what I've heard just over and over. They're going to take all our guns. And all I've seen is way more advanced guns and way more gun ownership in that time, less restrictions, if anything. Same, and I've seen going from a CEO making 30 times what the average employee makes at their company to 300 times what the average employee. We've gotten only further and further from communism and socialism in the entire time I've been alive.
Yeah.
With the caveat of like maybe a universal healthcare-ish, which we don't even have, but of trying to make that happen, which was like a huge, that was that was even just trying to socialize healthcare was something that was like a huge political over the last 4 elections have been like, it'll make or break an election, whatever your position is on should everyone have basic health care.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. But anyway, and one more thing about rich people while we're at
and
it.
another thing, they need to give more back.
Well, there is this meritocracy
it should go
argument.
bad like bananas. You know, the money should go bad if it's in your account for too long. It just
yeah,
so that you have to give it to people to eat the bananas.
But I've never bought into the meritocracy arguments that much. I'm not saying that whichever of these people, Elon Musk or Bill Gates or whoever else, I'm not saying that they haven't worked their ass off or whatever, but the idea that someone's worked like 1,000,000 times harder than someone else is crazy. And also the idea that like, oh, that person worked really hard, they made $1 billion. Well, then how do they make 100 if they worked $1 billion worth of hard, then like how did they work 100 times that to get 100 billion? I know it's kind of like a false equivalency or whatever.
And we don't know how much of that was luck too. Like how much of it was the hard work plus right time, right place. And
right.
Have you ever heard the quote? It's from, I forget if it's F. Scott Fitzgerald or Steinbeck or, you know, one of those authors, but all Americans are temporarily embarrassed millionaires. And that's kind of the attitude. So a lot of the people that are very heavily anti-socialist and like, no, they worked hard for it. It's because they believe like, I've got that in me. I've got the billionaire in me. I'm just a little down on my luck right now, but you just wait and see till my new bread box that also communicates with your phone. And it's kind of like an Uber for bread boxes. Wait till that takes off. Wait for it.
An Uber for bread boxes.
Yeah, it's always the Uber of something. The Uber of Uber. So if you can't find an Uber, then it'll help you find an Uber so you don't have to use Uber.
Well, an Uber with a bread box in it would be pretty nice. It comes, drops off your bread box, picks it up when you're done with it. Because the bread box is a big item for a lot of kitchens. And you want to make your own bread once in a while, but you don't want to. I think they do rent appliances. I think I just started an appliance rental business and called it Uber. I
wanted to say that there's another meme you see floating around saying that maybe it's not a meme, it's just a sentence, but you know, the whole thought of there should be no billionaires, which I don't agree with that fundamentally. I don't think there's something wrong with billionaires as long as there's not also poverty. There should be no poverty. There should be a baseline that is met. And then after that comfortable baseline, then yeah, maybe there should be billionaires. If you want to go that hard and you get that lucky, great. As long as everybody else has the healthcare and the food and internet access and stuff like that.
It's just such an incredible drain. Like anyone that gets COVID and gets hospitalized for it right now that's $75,000 average for a in-hospital stay to be treated and recover from COVID. I mean, that's because some of them are like insanely expensive and some of them aren't that much.
But yeah,
average is 75,000, and then the average insurance is covering half of that. So you're saddled with $35,000 in debt, which means in a lot of cases that means tax dollars are picking that up anyway. It's impacting all of us. One way or another, poverty and is impacting us, and these things have, massive. These things have massive implications. Whether it feels like, oh, it's just if someone wants to go and get themselves COVID, let them. Well,
it's up to them.
Okay, but now we all have to pay for them, and now they're on. Now they're on disability. Now they don't have the energy to work. We're losing productivity and everything else. And there's just a lot of things like that. But I was thinking in terms of regarding complexity. I do think that in our modern world, it's so interesting because we live in a civilization that humans as a whole need to know how to do so much. And each individual human needs to know almost nothing. There's almost nothing a single individual human needs to know. But as a whole, we gotta have it all figured out. Like you can not know how gravity works at all. You can not believe in gravity if you want to. You cannot know the first thing about it, but someone needs to know how gravity works to make planes, to put satellites, to change the timing of general relativity, how time changes depending on how close it is toward mass. And it's like someone needs to know how to do that for us to have phones, for us to be talking right now. And at the same time, that person doesn't need to know the first thing about cooking a meal or
not only that, they get to take it down. People that have no idea how the thing works get to contribute to take it down, like complaining about the internet, complaining about the social media, complaining about the phone.
Yeah.
And they
Let's
have no
take it down.
Well, I mean, they're not actually going to get Twitter taken down or something, but that's maybe not that good of an example. But I mean, what example am I even thinking?
I thought Take It Down was like some new site that I didn't know of, where people were like, "Here's what I don't like. Let's get rid of it."
That'll probably be coming out next week. Oh, but I think about it in the same way of a gun. Like, you don't know how a gun works. You could never build your own gun, yet you can go acquire an AK-47 or whatever and shoot 50 people within 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. And you didn't make that technology. You're not the mad scientist with the death ray. You just went and acquired that. And the same with the phone, with spreading misinformation, with yelling racial slurs at people. You didn't make the phone. You don't know how to communicate with the world, but you acquired the device which you can use as a weapon. So yeah, there's people being constructive and building stuff, and then there's people that are doing nothing at all, and then there's people that are not only doing nothing at all, but they're making it worse. Like, please just do nothing at all. Please just get high and watch TV, please. But instead, they're like, no, I want to go be destructive and make some people feel bad. And
I mean, it might be interesting if we do get some sort of universal basic income, because certainly
they should call it Galactic. Maybe that'll catch on better. Galactic basic income. Free $2,000 a month for all citizens or legal residents, or in the process of becoming legal residents, for everyone in the galaxy.
I could certainly see why people would be like, well, I don't want to work and contribute a portion of my income to people that aren't doing their fair share and aren't working. Like, everyone understands that, but the trade-offs are, it costs how much, $20,000, whatever universal basic income would be. You could take, I think the average year in prison is
$200,000, right? Something crazy.
I think it's at least 80,000.
It's some ridiculous above average income number to keep someone in prison or to put them on death row. Like, I remember reading about how expensive prisons are. It's modern slavery. They're privately owned. They're using them to make stuff and paying them nothing or 2 cents an hour.
Yeah.
They're not good.
And that's coming out of your check one way or another. Military's coming out of your check one way or another. It's a exorbitant part of your tax money is military expense. And now it's like, now you don't even need to make the argument of like, do we really need to, should we really be going into the Middle East or this and that? It's like, we don't even do that anymore. Now within 10 years, the military is just a bunch of people in a room creating memes to spread disinformation in other countries.
And the Cold War doesn't even get to a Cold War.
You don't need half of your tax money into being put into wacky meme propaganda, disinformation machines.
It's such a scarcity mindset.
Maybe it's expensive.
Like, shouldn't you, if you have enough, then if someone else takes some of it and you don't notice, then what's the problem with that? And isn't it more manly if you're coming at from a manly perspective? Like, I try to frame things in the way that, you know, there's an attack on masculinity. Well, isn't masculinity like to not whine about stuff and to not care that that stuff is going on? And also, if they're taking some of my money, the less fortunate are taking it. Like, doesn't that make you feel bigger? Like, I'm making so much that they have to take some of mine to survive. I'm the breadwinner of Earth because they have to take some of my hard-earned work to pay for
the way alpha is used by most scientists is different than how it's used by whatever,
like alpha male.
Alpha male. The alphas in mammals that scientists are studying are like incredibly cooperative, good at grooming, good at forming alliances. That's also what being an alpha means. It's not just like, whoa, that one has the biggest chest and it can kick the most ass.
Yeah,
like,
alpha isn't aggro. While it might be interpreted as some aggro things, but it's not purely aggro to be alpha. But it reeks of insecurity too. It
sure does.
I'm sure I've brought up this quote a lot before, but in Game of Thrones, when Tywin Lannister tells the very young Joffrey, the 10-year-old king, because he's like, I am king! And then he goes, no man that is king has to say that he is king. Some line like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of posturing involved. Usually the big guy, the big bouncer at the door, that's like pretty chill, is that way because they already know that they're in charge. They don't need to be telling everyone that they're in charge or that they can kick this and that person's ass or whatever. Yeah. It is a really silly, and the thing is about all that stuff is it basically doesn't even exist in real life.
What doesn't?
I go out and about, like, you know, I go to beaches and stuff, and I play different sports. I do all these different things. I meet a zillion different people. I've toured everywhere. And this idea of this like very exceptionally masculine man who's jacked and do MMA and all that stuff, that's like once in a while.
Jocko is real.
You see that guy
he's
in
a real
bar
person.
Or something. What's up?
I said Jocko Willink is real in that he's like the big masculine energy, but also that's not an insecure one.
They're all on your TVs or podcasts or whatever. Every dude that's like that is on a show. Like already. They don't really exist in real life. I see a guy that ripped in that like Agro like once a month in real life. But if you just go on the internet or whatever, you would think, oh man, everyone needs to be jacked like this and learn how to fight in real life. Like, who's getting into fights? How old are you? I've probably been in more fights than the average person. I think my last one, I was maybe 22. It's like, you don't really need that skill or disposition that much as an adult. But
and if you win, then you're probably going to jail, and if you lose, then you might have like some permanent injury afterwards. Or even if you win and you don't go to jail, like maybe that person will come back and try to find you, and it doesn't just work out like that. It seems like the world is not suited for just dueling pistols at dawn anymore, even though presidents used to. Didn't Andrew Jackson or some president, please correct me, listeners, whichever president.
I think it was Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, there was a duel and he did get shot, but then he also shot back and killed the guy and he still had a bullet in him for the next 20 years of his life. But that was just a normal
Andrew
president.
Jackson dueled regularly. Yeah, I think he...
They slap each other with a glove because you looked at their wife wrong or something.
Yeah, I mean, the guns weren't great back then, so it wasn't quite the same thing. But yeah, that was
and we're still there. Like our society we're gonna look back on this era and be like, we were such apes, like fighting online and like doing our Proud Boy protests.
Yeah. Oh man, well, we gotta start wrapping up because I got a Proud Boy protest I gotta get to now that you remind me.
But of course,
I have. Let's do like one more. I feel like, did we already do this one? This one is from.
We'll do a remix version of it. We'll do a remix answer where we change it up a bit.
Oh, is this from Australia? Maybe.
We'll do the voice.
This is Madison Hunter.
Madison Hunter.
Would love to know what your daily routines are. More to do with keeping your mental health in check. Do you have a set structure for when you wake up, or do you just see how the day goes and adjust to it? I struggle with anxiety and find that I do better with structure. Is that something you both resonate with, or are other things that you have discovered that work for you better? Would love some tips. Love you both.
Love you too.
Cooties.
Keep it easy. Stay easy. I find my grid is pretty fluid in that it's a structured routine, but not in the sense of a specific time in which I do stuff. Like I try to get the yoga in every day, the meditation every day, the doing some weight exercises every day, get some sunlight.
You do weight exercises every day?
Yeah, I do some kettlebell workouts on YouTube, like Chi health and fitness kettlebells. Sometimes I just put on a video so that it's like I'm in a room with someone else working out, and I just do whatever I feel like. I'll do some chest presses and tricep whatever things, and I like weights a lot. I really miss going to the gym. I hope that comes back soon. Maybe they are coming back a little bit, but I haven't gone to one. But yeah, and really just the longer I'm around, I'm trying to just pay more attention to how I feel. So maybe it's like, well, I should be doing yoga right now, but really what you should be doing is writing your thoughts out. Maybe that's what you're meant to do in this hour. And then the next one, you should change the yoga. But this also is a kind of, I have that time privilege thing. Someone with a kid that has a set schedule, maybe they can't just choose that. It's like, no, I've got to work out now or never because I only have 15 minutes the way my day goes. So hopefully you've got some flexibility there.
Whenever I feel discouraged about where I'm at in life, or like feeling like I should have more going on by now or whatever, being 41, I always think, well, I don't have kids, so that buys me so much extra time and money to invest in whatever. So that's a leg up in a lot of regards. Though I guess kids are very inspiring in a lot of ways.
My friend has 4 kids. I just saw him for the first time in like 7 years, and I was asking him about it, and he said, well, early in the morning, I can't wait until they get up, and then I can't wait until they go to bed. It's this weird catch-22 of you just love them and they're exhausting. Mm-hmm. Of you want them around, but then once they are around, it's like, oh, okay, this is a lot. Can't wait till I can sleep again.
Yeah.
Which I get that.
Yeah, I get to stay up as late as I want, wake up whenever I feel like it on almost every day, and that's awesome. I don't have lately, so I just found out a week ago that I guess there's like a big group of people that plays pickleball every morning. So now I'm doing that to get a little cardio first thing in the morning.
You just meet strangers at the court?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I know most of them by now, but there's
older people.
Yeah. There's a lot of, man, pickleball's a weird sport because it's always going to help to be more athletic or in better shape or whatever, but there's people that aren't, that are really quite good. I've judged a book by its cover way too many times.
Yeah.
And there's some surprises out there. There's like a large, not thin, like woman in their like 80s. I think
damn.
that's like pretty damn good. Like can't chase a ball if it goes off the court. Someone else needs to go and get it. But on the court, pretty damn good at playing.
There's people like
pickleball.
Bert Kreischer who are, they're fat and they drink Kool-Aid all day and they're very athletic and they can outrun you and like not have energy drain. Or, you think of the very large stripper doing the thing on the pole. Sometimes you'll see it on a TikTok or something and be like, damn, they're like way more athletic than I am. But you have a vision of what an athletic build is, which most of the time it probably is going to be that as opposed to the bigger person, but I don't think there's any rule. Same with the opposite. There's really, really skinny college professor looking ultra marathon runners that run, what's an ultra marathon, like 4 marathons or something? It's like 100 miles. And they just eat like 2 large pizzas and drink like 3 pints of beer, and they outperform the people that look like they're in a Nike commercial.
Yeah. It's wonderful to be active, and I feel like I can't get. I definitely need to change it up. Like right now, I already had to take a little bit of a break from my paddleboard kick because I just haven't been appreciating it as much. Or sometimes like, I could paddle out to a beach and write today, and I should do that, but I got a bunch of emails to get back to and stuff, so I'm not making as much time because I got other things going on.
I saw a tweet recently that said a tweet that said, "There's only one job. It's email." Like, let's not kidding ourselves. We all just have one job now.
I don't respond that well to routine. The only kind of routine that seems to work pretty well for me when I actually do it, which right now I haven't been doing lately, is just Pomodoros, of just setting an alarm for 20 and 40 minutes, or 20 and 30 sometimes, but I've been going 20 and 40 lately, and then stopping sometime before 40 minutes and taking, instead of a 5 to 10 minute break, I usually just set a break time of 10 minutes and do a few things or whatever else and get my mind off of things and then start again. And so usually for me, work is the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning and the last thing that I do at night. It's different. Sometimes I play pickleball first thing. Sometimes I watch TV at night, but I don't watch that much TV. And then throughout that, then I just pace myself at whatever I want all through the day. And I just feel like starting my brain primed with like, here's what I do. This is what I do for work. And here's what needs to be on my mind today. And then priming it again before bed.
I like that. I might try that.
Well, I feel like you just get a lot out of your subconscious that way, just for free. The subconscious is just like free money, if you just figure out the right ways of working your subconscious.
Yeah, it's so smart, and we don't get to use it because it's too busy.
Yeah.
Its door is locked. It's the executive officer, and we're just in the mailroom trying to figure out this, and it's running the whole show. I wish we could maybe we can through meditation and lucid dreams and stuff, but I wish we could easily have weekly meetings with our subconscious. Mm-hmm. Just sit down and like actually be like a therapy session. Like, so what's on your mind? Deeper me?
Yeah.
Or less deeper me? Yeah.
We speak different languages, though. You'd need a translator and everything else.
Maybe it would just be a purely intuitive exchange. So not me speaking words and then listening back to words, but just like, and then it's unlocking the blockages in my psyche and my body. Maybe that's just meditation in a different way. Maybe I just need to start being better. That's like my advice for myself every day. What if I was better? What if I did a little bit better?
Yeah, I've been trying to make little notes to myself to read later, to be like mantras for a day or whatever, but I don't. That's the thing. I write something down and then I just don't go back to it. Anyway, it's just writing things down is just like I write things down, taking notes here and taking notes like when I have my guests on my pod and on Here We Are and everything. I take notes, I write afterwards and everything, and I don't look back at it.
That's what Matthew McConaughey says. He says, I don't write down things to remember. I write them down to forget them.
Yeah, that's a big part of what I do.
Yeah, because otherwise it circles around and probably starts clogging the pipes or something.
I remember I used to write like crazy, and I'd keep going back through old notes and seeing if I could make a thing work. Maybe if I tweaked this, maybe if I tweaked that. And then once I was in the middle of moving and I got really drunk and I was in a bad area and I was worried about my car being broken into. So I brought like a ton of my notebooks just in a bag into this bar and got hammered and forgot it and was never found. And it was just so much of my stuff. This is early on in my comedy career. And it was really pretty freeing, actually, because I was like, now I'm not stuck trying to make those old ideas work. Because a lot of it was writing from before I'd even started comedy. And I didn't know how comedy worked until I actually started anyway. So most of it was like not that great anyway. And so it was sort of a freeing experience.
You know Corey Allen, right?
Yeah.
Corey Allen from Astral Hustle. He wrote his book, Now is the Way. And he wrote 3 full drafts of it and each time deleted the whole thing. Like not, okay, I'll save this and then write from the top. I mean, actually, okay, I finished writing the whole book. Now delete, no backups, start again. And then same thing over and over. And I think that's his way of doing it. And the book turned out really well. I love the book. And I don't think anything was lost. I think it's still in the dome and he's channeling it in a different way. And it's like a sandcastle that washes away and like, no, I remember how to build that sandcastle and let's do it a little differently this time. Or Drennan Davis was, Drennan's a good friend, musician, comedian, does a lot of live looping stuff. And he used to be in film school and had all this gear and like was kind of more rigid, I guess. And then it all got stolen. And so he's like, man, I better start making stuff that I can just make in the moment and not have to rely on this banked disc of work. And then from there, I think got really heavy into the live looping and can make a song happen with just him and a looper pedal and his voice.
Wow. Do you have any, I'm trying to think if I have any routines ever that have ever once worked for me. Oh, here's one. When I was in LA, and this is a pretty common practice for me, I'm usually pretty punctual, and
you're really good at punctual. Yeah, you're there on the dot.
Usually, yeah. And what I found was that, so I had pretty bad road rage stuff. Then I moved to LA and I was like, can't have road rage here. It doesn't do anything. And then I started, cause I was in Malibu. So it was a really long drive to get into the city anytime I was doing a show or something. So I would just leave, so that I'd be arriving to the venue an hour early. And so that way, if I was running a little late, then I was still like 30 minutes early or whatever, or if traffic was crazy or whatever thing happened. And so just cut the stress out of being late ever out of my life. And then I'd be able to get there early, and I'd do a meditation app like Headspace or whatever in my car for 10 or 20 minutes, depending on how much time I had before I went in to a venue. And I'd often go in early, and I like showing up early to a venue, and I'd like sitting in the back, and I feel like I can imagine it better if you're in the back. Like I guess actors don't read sitting down usually. A lot of times when they're trying to memorize their lines or whatever, they won't read the script sitting down. They'll like be standing and like get themselves in the moment. So when it comes time to do the scene, they remember the movements and everything that they were.
Yeah, you should never have to think of the line.
Yeah.
It's just all ingrained in you. I mean, everyone's process is different, but man, acting actually is really hard when you think about having to memorize lines and deliver it with emotion and do that 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And you don't even know how it's going to be cut together. Like the movie could be a stinker and it has nothing to do with your performance. They just edit it wrong or something. Just.
Do you think you'd be a good actor?
Maybe in some things, but never at the top levels. Maybe in some way that, the way that Bill Burr has kind of, he's a good actor in being Bill Burr. He's not the range of Daniel Day-Lewis or Kate Winslet or Meryl Streep or something like that. But you see him in Breaking Bad, Mandalorian, whatever. It's like, man, Bill Burr was good in that. He's believable. So I think comics can be good actors as themselves and then struggle to portray someone other than themselves. But I don't know, maybe fair to middle actor. What about you? You think you'd be a good actor? No.
Never had any interest, and I don't have a lot of confidence in my acting abilities. I did some like fun acting-ish stuff at the start of COVID. I made like a little web series with a friend. And I thought I was a pretty good actor in that, but it was also just an exaggerated version of me in a way. But so I don't know. I could maybe pull it off, but I've never taken acting classes. I don't know anything about it. I don't presume that I would be good at it. Seems like an intimidating thing.
I've taken a couple of acting, not with a group, like individual coaching sessions for when I was auditioning for like a Comedy Central show, and it was like a really big thing that, oh man, I really should get this. I should actually prepare. And the advice they gave me was so obvious, but I wouldn't have thought of it myself. Like you just don't think to, it's about a phone call. Like normally you're just kind of stiff. You don't know what to do with your hand. And then they instruct you like, oh, when you're yelling at your friend in the kitchen, put your phone by your chest. Like do little stuff like that. Little subtle moves that you don't pick up on when you're watching something. But then when you're trying to act, it's like that 30 Rock episode where Alec Baldwin is just so terrible on camera. And he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Can I get a coffee mug? And then he like walks on with a coffee mug, but his left hand, he doesn't know what to do. So he's like, can I have 2 coffee mugs? And he's like walking on the set with like 2 coffee mugs, and his right foot is not walking the right way. And just, you don't know how bad you are at something until you see yourself doing it. Like so many things are made to look easy, whether it's surfing, acting, knitting. Yeah. And then you get stand-up comedy is the biggest probably because everybody has been funny in the context of their family and friends. But have you gone up on stage, seen those bright lights, felt the mic go, felt it hiss back, seen the large group of people looking at you with their judging eyes, the guy with his crossed arms, the drunk lady, the whole thing. Like, have you done that? Then, man, you might not have the thing for it.
Looks easy because you see it on, well, there's two ways in which it looks easy. One is you see it on like late night television and you're like, oh, I could do that. You just come out from a curtain and everyone just laughs at everything you say automatically.
Yeah, which honestly they do on those late night tapings, unless you're Rob Delaney.
Yeah,
on Kimmel.
Yeah, that was brutal. But then there's the open mic. Going to an open mic, I mean, if you are seriously interested in stand-up, if you go to an open mic and be like, oh, I could do this, because it doesn't look easy when you're at an open mic. It looks hard, but it looks like I could do better than that, is what is the thought that will occur to you. But maybe not. You might not be able to.
Yeah.
It is.
And I've seen the greats eat it before. I've seen Bill Burr do the same set 3 times in one night. One where he crushed, another time where he did kind of middle, and another time where he just ate it. And that was so eye-opening to me. It'd be like, I just saw the same 5 minutes kill, and he's getting nothing. And he's still he's still staying the course. And that kind of taught me something, the staying the course part of it.
Yeah.
You own it, and for better or for worse, go down with the ship. Don't squirm. Although it is fun to watch people squirm.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to have everything so dialed in. It was like a little overly robotic, where I couldn't make any adjustments. If something happened, it would just be like, if a tray fell or something like that, I just couldn't. Okay, tray fell, and then I'm back into the thing, and had to loosen that up over time too.
Do you ever keep hack little zingers for it? Like, Mom, I told you to wait in the truck or something. That works.
No, I never have.
It hurts your soul. It hurts your soul to keep
a
zinger.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I heard, this is old school, but I heard a story of Don Rickles. Like, he would roast the Jew in the front, and the Chinese guy, and the lesbian or whatever. And, he'd roast everyone, and someone was watching him and be like, there's no Chinese guy in the front row. He just has these stock lines for anyone. He's like, all right, you got me. I'm old, kid. What do you want? Fuck you. What's your name again? I don't care. You ever hear that story of Don Rickles with, I think it was Dana Gould, and he asked Dana what his name was, and then in the middle of him saying, oh, it's Dana, he goes, I don't care.
That's funny.
Rest in peace.
Well, when that's your character, that's what you can do, I guess.
Yeah. That's a fun role to pick. I didn't choose it for myself, but the people like Don Rickles and Anthony Jeselnik, and there can't be too many of them. There can only be a handful that occupy the space of I'm going to just say the most horrible thing, but in a very clever way that is also likable. And also you've agreed that this is what you're getting into. And I've been around long enough that you know what you're getting. It's like, you're kind of grandfathered in. It's like, oh, it's okay if the South Park guys do it. It's okay if Rickles does it. It's okay if Anthony Jeselnik does it. But this open micer cannot start making Anthony Jeselnik jokes and not get groans, because they're not there yet. They don't have the confidence, the skill, and the association with being that guy yet. Yeah.
Speaking of incest, I have a memory of someone I had open for me, because I heard they were funny enough and everything, and I just liked them as a person. They were in the town, it was one of my stand-up science shows. It's just, I needed a different comic in every city, and they opened with this ridiculous over-the-top incest joke. It was just like, I get that gets laughs at the open mics when there's a bunch of comics sitting around going like, whoa, I can't believe they're saying this, but it's not that's the only reason why it's getting a laugh. Mm-hmm. It's not super clever. There's not a lot there. And now you just alienated my audience.
Oh man, did it recover slowly, or did it kind of ruin the tone?
It was fine. It didn't matter. Those audiences were always awesome, so it wasn't that big a deal. But it's enough to I'm kind of getting planning to get rid of the like second comedian anywhere that I go, because it's actually, most people were great during the stand-up portion, but then when people would have to get up at the end and like riff with scientists,
they couldn't hang?
super insecure. There's something about scientists are just super intimidating for some people.
Yeah, they go back to grade school. I love that part. Those shows had my favorite vibe. It had the perfect blend of comedy and people like wanting to listen and learn stuff, and the contrast of having the comic with the actual reputable scientist person was a good mix. Yeah, because they would get zingers in too. Like you could kind of, they would feel more comfortable doing it because they were standing next to the comics.
Yeah. Those shows were super fun, and I'll be on stage the whole time rather than leaving, than staggering it and having people do talks in between my act and stuff. So that way it's just because all the academics were really good off the cuff in the Q&A, and some of them not so good at presenting in front of an audience they haven't been in front of before. Yeah. You assume like, oh, they're a professor. They've given hundreds of talks in front of kids over and over again. I'm sure they'll be fine. Not the case.
A lot of classes are boring.
The case. Yeah.
Real boring. Even if you like the professor, and even if most of the time they're not boring, I guarantee they're going to have a bad lecture in there that is just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Predictable PowerPoints, and the fucking, like, the bullet points don't show up all at once. It's like, oh, we have to wait for them to fade in, and it looks like there's going to be 8 of them, and they're spending 5 minutes talking about each one.
Mm-hmm.
See, even the description of the description was boring there. But that's most of science. Real science is boring, as we've said before.
Yeah, it certainly can be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and scene. Okay, good. We got it. We nailed it. We did the part of us taking Patreon suggestions.
Thank God. Oh, now we can be ourselves.
Well.
Huh?
All right. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
Felt like I did a pretty good acting job.
Me too. But the most important act of all is subscribing to our Patreon, because we need your support to exist. We got to pay our staff. They're dying. They're still drinking their own urine. They have not been fed since February. Please join the Fed. And if you enjoy this show regular feed style, I promise you, we really get down in the Patreon. We really have fun there. So if you enjoy feeling good, you'll feel even better on the Patreon. So go to patreon.com/mindunderpod. Throw all the money you've ever had in your whole life into it, and watch your life blossom like the 90s sitcom Blossom.
And until next time,
keep on salivating, honeys. Ding. Ding.